How does a teenage girl, given to an emperor as a fifth-rank concubine, a human plaything with no name and no power, end up seizing the most powerful throne on earth? How does she become not just an empress, but the emperor? The only woman in over 3,000 years of Chinese history to hold that title? The historical record presents a paradox. A brilliant politician, a patron of the arts, and a ruthless tyrant who built a state on fear. We are here to deconstruct the paradox and expose the raw, unapologetic strategy behind the legend. This is the story of her rebellion. Now, let's uncover how she defied her world. Our story begins in the crucible of the 7th century Tang Dynasty court, a world of lethal elegance and silent ambition. At just 14 years old, the girl we now know as Wu Zetian entered the Forbidden City. She was one of thousands, her future meant to be lived out in gilded obscurity, serving the whims of Emperor Taizong. But obscurity was not in her nature. An early court account tells us of a moment that reveals everything. When the emperor complained of an unruly horse that no man could tame, the young Wu stepped forward. Her solution was brutally simple. An iron whip, then an iron mace, and finally, a dagger. Subdue it, beat it,
Some say that she was
and if it
ruthless.
still resists,
I say she
kill
was
it.
necessary.
The emperor was not impressed by her ferocity.
叶提啊，
He saw not a
得
partner,
取上将，
but a threat.
咱们行酒啊！
This moment teaches us a vital lesson about Wu's early career. Her ambition was too sharp for the world she inhabited. She languished for 12 years, without promotion, a forgotten concubine. When Emperor Taizong died, her path, and that of all his childless consorts, was set in stone. A lifetime of pious imprisonment in a Buddhist convent. For most, this was the end. For Wu Zetian, it was merely an intermission. While in the palace, she had executed the most daring and dangerous gambit of her life. She had begun an illicit affair with the crown prince, Li Zhi. This was high treason, a crime punishable by a slow, agonizing death. But it was a calculated risk. She was betting on his affection and, more importantly, his weakness. The gamble paid off. Soon after becoming Emperor Gaozong, Li Ji remembered the brilliant, captivating woman from his father's court, and against all tradition and precedent, brought her back from the convent. Wu Zetian had just proven her central thesis. Rules are for those who lack the courage to break them. Returning to the palace was not a victory. It was a declaration of war. Wu Zetian was now surrounded by enemies with pedigree and power. Chief among them, the reigning Empress Wang and the favored pure consort Xiao. They saw her as a low-born interloper and used their influence to poison the court against her. But they underestimated their opponent. Wu Zetian didn't play the game of courtly slander. She played for keeps. What the historical record shows us next is a masterclass in political annihilation. She cultivated allies among the palace staff,
Yes, Empress.
turning
The
their
latest
eyes and
dispatches
ears
confirm a
into her
growing
own
faction.
intelligence
I
network.
expected as much.
She meticulously documented her rival's every misstep, while maintaining a facade of unimpeachable virtue for the emperor. The decisive moment came with the birth of her daughter. Accounts from the period, written by her later enemies, accuse her of the unthinkable, smothering her own infant, and framing Empress Wang for the crime. While the absolute truth is lost to history, the strategic result is undeniable. Emperor Gaozong, devastated and enraged, believed Wu's version of events. Empress Wang and consort Xiao were deposed, imprisoned, and later mutilated and killed on Wu's orders. This wasn't just revenge, it was a message. This is the personal cost of opposing her. She had cleared her path to the position of Empress Consort through sheer, cold-blooded strategy. With her rivals gone, her power grew exponentially. As Emperor Gaozong's health began to fail following a debilitating stroke, Empress Wu stepped out from behind the curtain. She began to rule in his name, a co-ruler in everything but title, proving herself a more capable and decisive leader than her husband. But the old guard of the Tang court, the powerful aristocratic clans who had run the empire for generations, would not bend to a woman, especially one from a minor family. They saw her as a usurper, a disruption to the ancient, patriarchal order. This was the system she now had to break. Her defiance would not be a single act, but the construction of an entirely new apparatus of power, one built on terror. To secure her authority, Empress Wu unleashed the cruel officials. She established a secret police force, a network of informants and interrogators loyal only to her. Her most ingenious and terrifying innovation was the public installation of copper boxes in the capital.
For each
These
transaction,
were suggestion
a unique
boxes for the people
identifier was created.
with 4 slots. One for recommending loyal officials, one for criticizing government policy, one for reporting injustice, and the most important one, for reporting treason, sedition, and conspiracy anonymously. This system turned the entire empire into her spy network. A whisper in a tea house, a disgruntled comment from a bureaucrat, a rumor of a plot. All of it flowed directly to the Empress. The reward for a useful tip was a government position. The penalty for a false accusation was death, ensuring the system largely policed itself. Once accused, a victim was handed over to officials like the infamous Lai Junchen, a master of torture who authored a manual titled The Classic of Entrapment. He perfected the art of forcing confessions, no matter how innocent the subject. Under this reign of terror, Wu Zetian systematically purged the opposition. Princes, chancellors, generals, and entire aristocratic families who stood against her were implicated in fabricated plots, then exiled or executed. What this reveals is a terrifying political logic. She couldn't reform the existing power structure, so she decapitated it. She was no longer just influencing the throne. She was hollowing out the state and rebuilding it in her own image. With fear as its foundation, with the old guard purged, and the court paralyzed by fear, the path was clear. In the year 690, Wu Zetian did the unprecedented. She deposed her own son, the puppet emperor, and took the final step. She ascended the dragon throne not as a regent or an empress dowager, but as Huangdi, the ruling emperor of a new dynasty, the Zhou. This was the ultimate defiance. A woman claiming a title that the cosmos, tradition, and a millennium of patriarchy had reserved exclusively for men. Having seized power through terror, she now had to govern. And here, the historical record presents us with the great paradox of her reign. The same woman who created a brutal spy state proved to be a remarkably effective leader. She broke the stranglehold of the corrupt aristocracy by promoting scholars and administrators based on merit, not birthright. We see in the imperial archives that she expanded the civil service examination system, opening pathways to power for brilliant men of lower rank. She managed the economy skillfully, initiated vast public works projects, and oversaw a period of relative stability and prosperity. Militarily, she pushed the empire's borders deep into Central Asia and the Korean Peninsula. This forces us to confront a difficult truth. The brutal tyrant and the competent sovereign were the same person. Later Confucian historians, scandalized by the existence of a female emperor, worked tirelessly to bury her achievements under a mountain of slander.
They said she was a
painting
fool,
her as a depraved
but her
and
economic
illegitimate
reforms
monster.
increased trade
They
by
focused on her
30%.
cruelty and sexuality to obscure the fact that she had successfully done the job of an emperor, often better than the men who came before her. But a reign born in paranoia often ends in it. As Emperor Wu Zetian aged, she grew increasingly isolated, relying on a small circle of young court favorites. Her iron grip began to weaken, and the enemies she had suppressed for decades saw their chance. In 705, a palace coup led by her own chancellors forced the ailing, 80-year-old ruler to abdicate in favor of her exiled son. The Tang Dynasty was restored.
Tang Dynasty.
She died less than a year later, not as the emperor of the Zhou, but as a dowager empress of the Tang. For her own burial monument, she ordered a massive, unmarked stone slab, a blank stele. She left no official story, no glorious epitaph. She left only a silence, inviting, or perhaps daring, future generations to pass their own judgment. Wu Zetian's story is a testament to the fact that history is not a simple narrative of heroes and villains. Her blank monument asks us a question. How do we judge a ruler who brought both terror and prosperity, who broke every rule to achieve ultimate power in a world designed to deny her any? Her legacy is a reminder that defiant women are rarely simple, but they are always necessary to remember.